What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Hold My Mic. Just wanted to say hello to everybody again. We got 3 days left, dude. It's a time to be alive, man. It's fucking exciting. I cannot wait. Like, these 3 days, this week in general has been some of the longest waiting period ever. Like, it's the longest week ever, dude. Everybody knows. Everybody feels people are yearning to want to be able to play for some fresh information. And speaking of fresh information, I was actually interested in talking about the Bloodmage in one of my next episodes, and why not a better time to do it? Because pretty much her full ascendancy got leaked. Initially, we had 1 through 4, and now we have 5 through 8. I'll start from the top and go down the list. This class is pretty much the Warlock class per se. If you've played World of Warcraft ever. Any kind of classes that spend life to gain damage, spend life to cast spells. It's that archetype. Sanglemancy.
All blood mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana. But in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life.
Sanglemancy allows you to drop orbs, health orbs on kill. So while you're spending a bunch of life to do damage and cast spells and stuff, you're also having a 25% chance to spawn a remnant on killing an enemy. Boom. And that's at level 7. The quality of this is also, you can jump that 25 up to another 20, which is 45% chance to spawn an orb when you're killing enemies. Sanglemancy essentially is just the first initial, like, ascendancy node that gives your class identity, right? Not a lot of classes have something that's like one path and then it branches off to others. You usually have like multiple different avenues you can do per ascendancy. This one has its identity up front, and it's the first thing you ascend to, right? Which can be a good thing and a bad thing, but I think this is a good thing because you can overflow your life when you're picking up these orbs. So it isn't just like you're forced into spending life instead of mana, right? It's not like you're sitting here saying, okay, this class, forces me to spend life instead of mana. Well, where's the bonus? The bonus is their overflowing life. So as you pick up these orbs, each remnant grants 65 life, flat life, X amount of life. If you max it out, who knows what that is? It might be 150. You don't know. It might be 200 life. When you pick up an orb, once you hit that cap of your life, if you have 3,000 life and you reach 3,000 life, you can continue buffering your life. So you can double your life pool, which means if you have 3,000 life, you could essentially gather enough orbs to be able to have 6,000 life. We don't know the duration on it. We don't know how long those last. But essentially, obviously, they will, like, you'll gain a bunch, and if you don't pick up any more orbs, they'll fall off, right? They'll gradually fall off. And this will tie into one of her nodes, too, as I get to the bottom of this. Number 2, Crimson Power.
With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life.
Gain energy shield from equipped body armor as extra maximum life. This is a spinoff of Affliction League, the Warlock, the extra ascendancy. If you guys played Path of Exile 1, we had a Warlock ascendancy that did a more amplified version of Crimson Power. It was all gear from that person. From your boots, from your gloves, from your chest piece, from your helmet, like any energy shield you had on your gear was transferred to flat life. And this one is kind of toned down because it's a brand new game. The power creep isn't there. We were on another god-like level in PoE 1 when Affliction League came to us. So, gain energy shield from equipped body armor is extra life. Hefty chunk of life you could get here, considering we don't have a lot of life sources in our tree. Super good. Number 3, Vitality Siphon.
And with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well.
10% of spell damage leeches life. Very self-explanatory. Nothing hard to understand here. You throw out spells, 10% of the damage you dealt is given back to you as life. So while you're spending life to cast damage and curse things and summon minions, guess what? You're also getting damage back for the cost of it, right? Number 4, Gore Spike.
Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage.
1% critical damage per bonus, 20 life. So essentially, this is where it ties into Gore Spike. Gore Spike is like a fluctuating bonus. It's not something you have permanent of, right? To a certain extent. So let me explain. You have a maximum of 3,000 life. You do the math. 3,000 divided by 20, that gives you an extra critical damage bonus, right? But if you have Sanglemancy and you start stacking up those orbs, and you push that to double your life, which is 6,000 life. 6,000 life divided by 20. There's your new critical damage bonus, right? So it's kind of a fluctuating thing. Gore Spike will be good for mapping. It will be good for clear. It will be good for bosses and monsters and ways that you can to be able to spawn your orbs, right? If you don't have a way to spawn orbs, Gore Spike is mediocre at best, right? It's kind of mid, situational. But overall, a good node. If you can find ways to manipulate that in boss fights, more power to you. Number 5, open source. Might be a little hard for you guys to read, so bear with me. I'm going to try to explain it to you guys. Your curses have infinite duration. Mind-bogglingly strong. Is that a word? Mind-bogglingly?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Mind blown, dude. Like another one is like, dude, you could run this so many different ways. You could run this as a blasphemy, which at that point you don't have to worry about your duration. But when you're casting certain things, and you in your rotation, you need to curse something that's a little bit tougher. You don't have to curse it anymore. By default, a lot of curses might have like a 20-second duration or something like that. You know, I don't know exactly the numbers straight up, but by default, there are some curses that last longer than others. I think most of the curses have a generalization of time frame, and the fact that they can have infinite duration is super quality of life. Gain 10% of damage as extra physical damage. Elemental damage can inflict bleeding. Essentially, gain 10% of damage as extra physical damage. Yeah. So essentially, any damage you do, you gain an extra physical damage on top of it, right? And also, your elemental damage can inflict bleeding. That's going to be interesting now that I'm looking at it, because like I said, this is all brand new. I'm just going off the top. Elemental damage can inflict bleeding. Thinking of instances where that could be interesting, like you could put that together. Wonder if you could get away with putting together a tree that involved elemental scaling, and also, if it's within reasonable reach, you could maybe put in some bleed nodes with some bleed supports. You could potentially put out a new archetype if you wanted to put blood barbs to the test, right? Let's see. Number 7, Sunder the Flesh. Base critical hit chance for spells is 15%. When I read that earlier, when I was putting this picture together, I lost my fucking mind. Honestly, Sunder the Flesh is probably one of the coolest things for, like, per se, an Ascendancy node. It screams to me. To me, it screams, and everybody's going to have their own little ideas that pop in their head. Everybody's mind's different. But for me, it screamed cast on crit. The fact that we have a new rework cast on crit, this could be put to the test with a lot of different ways. A lot of different spell mechanics can come from this. Something that you thought you would never use could also be used now. Yeah, cast on crit, man. I mean, the fact that it's base crit is 15% already, and you can scale that into even higher numbers. Man, this Ascendancy's wild. Grasping Wounds. This is probably the biggest one for me. Just knowing the power of it and what comes from it, and like where they got the idea from. Grasping Wounds. 25% of life loss from damaging hits is lost over 4 seconds instead. This essentially is two things. If you ever played Path of Exile 1 long enough, and you've played enough to use Petrifying Blood, it was a skill that allowed you to at a certain point of your life, halfway point of your life, there was a claw that grasps your orb, and I'll show a picture of it on the screen. Claw that grasps your orb, and where the fingertips were is where that threshold was. Anytime your life dropped below that threshold, it would distribute some of that life so it wasn't spiky, and it would have like this jelly looking, gap to show you how much life it was throwing away, so you didn't have to take that life up front. And if you had any sustain, the Petrifying Blood would allow you to pretty much never die as long as you had that like pseudo life. And I mean, it's bustedly strong for low life builds, right? And if you take low life ascendancies, if you take low life keystones now, it's changed in PoE2. You add that into the equation, you've got a lot of stuff going on here with crit. You've got crit damage on top of crit damage on top of crit chance. she's going to be a mean low-life ascendancy. That's all I'm going to say. But the second part of Grasping Wounds is also Progenesis. If anybody was wealthy enough, which eventually, if you played enough Path of Exile back in the day, Progenesis was a very, very, very strong flask. I'll put that up on the screen also. Essentially, it doubled up with the Petrifying Blood. So you got like a bigger bonus of how things were negated, how physical damage was negated through your life. It was just overly absurd on a Pathfinder also because of the flask effects and stuff. And I mean, the scaling was unbelievably good for certain archetypes in PvP1. But overall, man, like this ascendancy, trying to register everything, because this is like the first time I'm sitting down and actually kind of doing a little brainstorming. I mean, she's going to be a nasty low-life character, right? A low-life spellcaster. She's going to be an insane cast on crit character. She's just, in general, just a nice spellcaster, right? Because she's beefy as is. You're stacking life. You're probably end up going to go Blood Magic. Most people will probably end up going Blood Magic. You don't really need your mana anymore. You're already doing Sanglemancy, which is making you spend life as is. So why not get rid of the mana? I mean, you're leeching a lot of it back that you're dealing damage to. I don't see nothing wrong with this character. The only thing I see wrong with it is trying to figure out where to get your stun immunities and your ailment immunities. Like trying to have avoidance somewhere down the line. Yeah, this is. She's got a built-in Progenesis. Petrified Blood. I mean, it's a lot to think of, but definitely probably one of my more favorites. I know I said in past videos, you know, at the moment for what we could see, I know the Witch Hunter and the what else was it, the Witch Hunter and the Warcaller, if I'm not mistaken, were probably some of the Gimli Legionnaire were probably some of the more stronger ones that you had seen just from what they gave us. But man, this definitely puts a run for your money on the intel side of the tree. Yeah. So you guys enjoy the video. We got 3 days left, man. I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope you guys are prepping for your eventful time, because on the 6th it's going down. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. I'll try to keep putting out more videos and stuff for you guys. I'll try to set myself up for maybe even doing a little mini subathon or something. I've never done one before, so I'm gonna be looking for some advice and things to do on the list to make it exciting. But yeah, man, if this is telling on what we're gonna get here as Ascendancies, this is gonna be insane. We have a lot of power creep that we just don't realize we have yet. But with that being said, thanks for tuning into this episode of Let Me Hold My Mic, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.